don't change. Wars change. But behavior of men, women, in battle, impact, all that stuff. We could go back to the Revolutionary War, Civil War. Biblical War. Oh my word. 100%. Yeah. So at any rate, this will, and then this has got some weight behind it. But not having done this before, these are tacked in. That actually I cut off one of my uniforms. That's my dress blue collar. So this is adhered to by some really strong, amazing glue. Could be like two gorillas. But the glue on this is where this technically is what it would withstand, like where you put it on your pickup truck. That's that glue. So is the black backing supportable? Okay, so if you hang this up on your wall and things start dropping off, just get in the back there. You'll have fun with it. This is on Velcro back behind your grandfather's picture. And I put the Velcro on it. I'm telling you, these are tacked down into a belt. I had a Sam Brown belt. So that ribbon bar, you'll see, that black belt is from another Sam Brown attachment I had. And I cut that off here on this end. And then I did some drilling. These are screwed in from the back. They're not going anywhere. What was behind is the drill bit that wanted to, like, when I was going this way, no, I wanted to take the black felt and wind it up, and so I was going, no. So then I was taking the spin cycle and going, oh, yes. So this project was a labor of wrinkled kernel down. Okay? And
stick to it to see the mission through.
It is, and you'll see where I was drilling holes in the back to hold the weighty stuff. And then you'll figure out that one popped out here, and I said, no, that's beyond my skill set. So, okay. I just wanted to make sure that I've never done this before, but it was not. It will be healing. And I have seen what happens with, a lot of guys, you go to the officer, maybe have a better idea of what we're getting into. I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Right. No. Right. Right. So, this was a story that they told us yesterday. And we obviously still, I touch on a little bit in my talk, that we are still dealing with now. It's been 2004. So between 2002 and through 2004, I was in the desert. One is a senior advisor to a country just south of where we're pushing in the troops, and it was a dangerous place. Came back for about a 4-month break, and then told Karen I was off to Iraq. And then I led the first group of Marine advisors in since Vietnam into Iraq. And I tell people it was kind of like in Iraq patrol, where we didn't conventionally fit with our buddies that were all armored up. What would the Iraqis that would just shellac? Yeah. Probably didn't have necessarily a liking to us because we just we tore the family apart. But I'll tell you what their mindset was. They do, in their culture, they respect the army that defeats them. They don't like it, but in their context, it's like, all is well. We deserve this. It was all as well. So I didn't fear them, but it was a privilege. All I can tell you is that I can totally relate because of the Marines that served under me. What happened when we go to war? And all of us, taking the civilian sector, police, firefighters, first responders. You're seeing the stuff that you're not supposed to be seeing. So,
everybody seems trauma over the course of a lifetime,
yeah.
but the amount of
Right.
situation there,
Right.
It's like anybody who's
Right. Of course. Right.
This is an accrued
Right.
that's just too much.
It just does. Yeah. Well,
Karen, so we have that, so that's what I mentioned to her, she started talking about. So.
Oh, let me turn my phone off.
yeah, no, what we'll do is afterwards, I'll guide you through it. I think in the research, I could actually, these are what we call campaign medals. Yeah, if these represent separate type of campaigns.
Almost like a passport stamp.
It's-
There then.
Yeah, it's like, for the most part, serving over there, my father has every one of these. He was commanding a squadron, and your grandfather was with, light anti-air artillery with a whole group of infantry and cannon cockers. So part of the organization, the whole weight of those units going in, that's what this represents. So, yes. Okay, I'm ready to stop.
Listen. Oh, please sit down. Just one moment. Colonel, I'm leaving the order of events right here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say a few words. And then invite you, please.
Okay.
Good morning, Jessica, Max, Colonel, Karen. Thank you so very much for traveling so far to celebrate PFC Laurence and Nadeau's Marine Corps service here at the National Museum of the Marine Corps' Semper Fidelis Memorial Chapel on this, the 29th of April, 2024. Although this event is to celebrate them, it is also, for me, a celebration of a quarter century of being mentored by Colonel Robert J. Abblitt, the only mentor I have so respected that I have never once called him by his first name. I have referred to him only by his hard-earned break. Here is a photo that I took of him, almost smiling, just down the road here, nearly 20 years ago. Oh, he's smiling now. This is for you, Karen. To thank you for so many years of sharing him with all of us whom he continues to lead. Jessica and Max, I commissioned who is likely the most outstanding combat artist of my lifetime, retired Marine Corps Captain, almost dead, Charles Grove, to create this watercolor of PFC Nadeau from his enlistment photo, which has stuck we few who have seen it as depicting a poignant and brave young man. Charlie, as he is affectionately known around here, wound up his 40 years to the war as deputy director of this fine museum. It is also a celebration of the remarkable turns of events in my life, my calling, as was the exceptional August day in 2021, when I sat in the Navy Lounge at the Victory Services Club in London, on one of my many 2-hour coaching sessions with you, Jessica, at home in New Hampshire, that I learned your grandfather had served in World War II in the Marine Corps. I think at that moment, we both knew a celestial door suddenly opened, one that began a nearly 3-year odyssey of research, waiting, countless discussions, records, interpretations, and joy, to come to know someone who passed through this life with little celebration. At that moment, we knew none of Lawrence's quiet gallantry. Sadly, we did know his suffering was earned. His story has shown us the remarkable history he silently carried until he could no more. Profiles are my strong suit. World War II Marine Corps history is not. Excitedly sharing the eventual arrival of his Naval Archives records with my most trusted mentor, I was incredibly relieved when you, Colonel, showed such concern and compassion for Lawrence's story. Here is where I will kindly ask you to tell the most important facets of Lawrence's service in ways and with a field of knowledge few Marine Corps leaders have ever possessed. Your many years of infantry service and theater warfare, of the exceptional responsibility as Marine Corps Base Quantico Inspector General, and as Chief of Staff for this base and for 29 Palms, and perhaps most importantly, as the son of a World War II Marine fighter pilot and leader and assistant to Marines. There is no one else I've ever met who could have guided and interpreted Lawrence's history better. And introduce Colonel Nadeau.
Well, it was an honor right now to meet both of you in person. And Max, congratulations on graduating #1 from the FBI Academy. Am I correct?
Not #1, but it was classic.
Well, I put top of the class. From where I was at academically, that's #1. We have a connecting file within our bloodlines. I'm glad we kind of broke the ice up here. And I'll also say, most importantly, our Christian faith. This project was extraordinary. It was extensive, it was exhaustive. I haven't enjoyed something like this in quite a while. And it's because it was for people that I knew mattered. Meriwether motivated me because she is tireless in her efforts to discover Marine Corps records. Thank you. I'm going to also thank a guy that his name is Lieutenant Colonel John Hoffman. His research assistance was invaluable to both of us. And there's an amazing book called Condition Red by author Chuck Nelson that does detail the defense battalions in World War II. And I would probably encourage you later, that might be a great book to get a hold of. I found it fascinating, extraordinary detailed, and out of that though, I think it will help present present to you what your grandfather was facing as a very, very young man. A Marine Service record book, it tells a lot. From entry into boot camp, turning these young lives into U.S. Marines, and then it concludes with the discharge, how they finish the race. Your grandfather's application to join the Marines, there's probably no better job told anybody than the experience of being a tree fellow. The recruiting section of the Marine Corps, when they heard that, it wouldn't take a genius to say, this is exactly who we want. Hands-on experience dropping huge trees that could literally destroy a human body in a matter of minutes by a misstep in the position of the body, awareness for the statics in the position, proper identification of the lean of the tree before you take that last chop. The weight of the full tree is girth in one direction. Its last extract begins a dangerous downward journey with the tree to the ground. And then the contact with the ground, its secondary and tertiary points of failure that at any one point make severe injury or death a foregone conclusion. Yeah. If your grandfather had been approaching any of the people that I know, he would have been a shoo-in. Because combat in many aspects, what also happens here in the place that we call peace, well, we're faced with every day being able to wake up the next day and thank the Lord for another day. Because we are, as humans, subject to natural events that happen. His fate was sealed, however, when he signed that contract with the Marine Corps. And I want to read something to you that I think will help be the beginning of your grandfather's story. A quote from our most distinguished warfighter and leader in Marine Corps history that I think is still true to this day is going to open that door. At this period in history, Lieutenant Colonel, an iconic leader of Marines, who was endeared to this day, his Marines, a man of great character. He never looked for spit and polish in his Marines. He looked rather for their capacity to fight, their desire to go in to battle. And therefore, he dismissed the spit and polish. General Fuller's philosophy is perfectly understood by his own words. Take me to the brig. I want to see the real Marines. Meriwether has an amazing separate story on Chesty Puller. My father actually had the honor and privilege of meeting Chesty Puller. Knew him in World War II, but actually had a 10-side talk with him in Korea. And my dad was with the 1st Marine Division. So bringing real people into the story of their grandfather makes it not only compelling, but it binds us and bonds us. So I have zero doubt that Ben Chesty Puller would have had no issues going to the brig, seeing the grandfather and the duty assignment that he was given, and ask a simple question. Marine, do you want to go into battle and fight the hard fight with your brothers, or stay here on guard duty? And I believe your grandfather, by all standards, a very young man, he would have just said, I'm ready and able, so send me to the fight. How did I internalize that? I know Marines. I knew them serving under me. I saw them at the motor pool. I saw them, those who wanted to be in combat, and I saw them deflected over to Marine Corps Exchange. I saw them end up in MOSs that they didn't sign up for. And so, as I continued to be compelled to read through your grandfather's story, 2 years. They had thousands by the time I was done with that tour of duty that I saw try to become U.S. Marines. And the washout rate is kind of significant because not all can make it through that type of training. But your grandfather had his teeth cut here. The absolute toughest training in the world where Marines were born. And then World War II was well underway. And he would deploy to the Pacific. Here's what I want to try to walk through. 1943, he's basically coming fresh out of boot camp and he joined the Special Weapons Group. It's called the 1st Aerodrome Battalion in New River. And then 43, the muster shows him in that unit, but he's starting to head out now to San Diego. But he never left what was called the Weapons Group. The Weapons Group had 20 millimeter and 40 millimeter light anti-aircraft guns. Those type weapon systems would in fact be the same weapon systems, give or take a few calibers, that he would end up being married up to as he pushes over into the Pacific. Here's where we get into the battle piece. 1944, January, the muster shows that the defense battalion attached to the 4th Marine Division going on ship, and your grandfather embarking on an LST on 21 January 1944. His battalion was headed by amphibious ships. The 4th Marine Division took an atoll. It's called Roy de Mer. About 2 days and some change, 1 to 2 February 1944. The defense battalion, which your grandfather was a part of, they would have gone ashore afterward, what we call to garrison the island, and defended hard after the division would jump to the next campaign. The assignment, critical. You never give up what you gain, and you never assume that you're not going to be having to redefend it. So the mission in and of itself, important. Your grandfather's mission being what we would call security, flank, guarding important areas, important, critical. And I was surrounded by that, not only at the platoon level, but as I advanced up, that, any one of those areas that's not properly taken care of, secure, guarded, and Marines rotating in and out, it's a vulnerability, and it can literally create catastrophic effects that take out more of a unit than you can even imagine. Your grandfather was a part of this bigger aspect of security in the fight, and was in the fight. In April 1944, the muster shows him still in the same unit at Meriwether. When you read the Marine Corps history on that island hopping campaign, you'll enjoy looking that up, reinvestigating it, and see what these guys were up against. The service record book shows him also joining the 9th Marines, which was the regiment I belonged to. And the single prominent combat that your grandfather experienced, whether single or many, it doesn't matter. It only takes one. Was a Japanese bombing raid against Roy de Mer. Your grandfather's there, for which I made sure that the combat action road was something that was there, because a Marine to this day will tell you with everything they can put on their chest. The combat action road is a treasure. And that's what that means. He experienced this incredible journey when you're on ships of war. I want to read a little bit about that. Before he even set foot on Lloyd and Murray, you go through this ship-to-shore movement. Here's what was happening. Where your grandfather's aboard ship, because he's going to be coming in the latter way as appropriate. Infantry are going to be moving forward ahead. Amphibious tractors sought to form up and organize attack waves, and they contended with some serious problems. The rough weather, radio communications were difficult. Amtrak crews had not previously practiced the assault that you would normally pre-rehearse for. Control ship turned out to have been assigned firing missions as well as wave control and left its control station behind. The attack commander was reduced to racing around in a small ship, shouting instructions through a megaphone. That happens back in the 1700s, maybe Civil War. And here we're in World War II with then state-of-the-art communications. Attack hour was actually shifted by 1 hour, which is a big deal. Tinny plan. Men in the Amtraks and some men hastily scrounged up landing craft and vehicles and personnel. They were watching this awe-inspiring sight of the furious bombardment that was taking place. Your grandfather's aboard ship. I can't even explain to you what it's like to have big guns going on when you're basically in a big-sized, larger version of a tuna can. Metal, very little structure that absorbs, but I mean it shakes. It shakes you to your teeth. These were ships where I'm surprised most of them didn't end up dead from just overpressure, under pressure, and what your brain can actually happen. This is even before stepping foot and then having to experience the enemy fire. You're taking some heavy, serious, physical, psychological poundings in the very place where you're being ready to go on board and transit into the island. And I can't even, I feel it. I can feel it. I can't necessarily cause other people to understand intuitively what that means. But just by our own weapon systems alone in the prep, you are worn out. You are shattered. He would be part of the first time that a plane, observer planes were used in the Pacific to go, they were called spotters. Your grandfather was there to be a part of Marine Corps history when spotter planes, that wasn't their mission. But what happened, the general said, I'd get him reports that my Marines don't know where fire is coming from. And he redesignated his spotters to go in and see if they could see anything. Well, they're armed with self-defense. They've got their own self-defense. So they relayed back and said, we see that the Japanese are in the trench lines. And Marines, they're literally grenade throw away, but they can't get their heads up. So the general goes, do you have your guns? We do. Those were self-defensive, the aircraft for other aerial threats. Turn your guns on the trenches. Fire them up. First time your grandfather is in a place where aerial observer aircraft are being now used to fire directly in to the Japanese trench lines and neutralize them so the Marines could advance. That's what was taking place during this time in history. Fascinating. Everything was mixed up. The chaos of war is what we call it. The fog of war. And many officers and enlisted, they were facing the first combat situation. And in amphibious operations, if you haven't rehearsed and you haven't trained for it, even if you have, you're dealing with saw as he was brought ashore the results of that chaos. The Japanese were so well entrenched that there's no way that anything other than some significant catastrophic casualties were going to be the outcome. It's the way it was. Can you imagine people on board ship, not the first wave, but they're hearing by rumor, by megaphone, they're hearing the talk of what's happening forward. I will tell you this, what you don't know until you get there. But when you're on that back end and you're receiving the reports of what they're getting, and then you know you're going, I will tell you that that has a whole different impact psychologically for all of us. And what I would call a young man but a teenager, he's being made aware of what's coming, I think. I can only think how grateful I am knowing the courage it took for him and others like him to push forward seriously. This Remembrance campaign, when you have a chance to break into the Marine Corps story on it, it was right up there in a different way than Iwo Jima with the flag raising. Probably not too difficult to distinguish one volcanic piece of rock from the other. But we gave a lot to the flag raising on Iwo Jima. And these guys who were on Remembrance, they could have easily had something dedicated to them when they took that island for their own flag raising. I don't know how the books separate one from the other. The hero at one place, and the person that falls in the shadow of the hero, when quite frankly, they're all heroes. I want to tell you about what your grandfather was surrounded by. I read this and I just go, my gosh, the entire United States Navy was here. These are the big dead ships that are 17-year-old Marine is seeing as he's waiting to go ashore. The battleships, the Tennessee, the Colorado, the Maryland, Pennsylvania, the Idaho, the New Mexico, the Mississippi, battleships. These are the heavy cruisers, the Louisville, the Indianapolis, the Portland, the Minnesota, the San Francisco, the New Orleans. It gets better. The light cruisers, Santa Fe, the Mobile, the Biloxi. These are the big guns, the carriers. These are carriers. The Saratoga, the Princeton, the Langley, the Enterprise, the Yorktown, the Bella Wood, the Intrepid, the Essex, the Cowpens, Monterey, Bunker Hill, plus 6 escort carriers. I mean, overwhelming. Literally an armada of the best we got. And this was followed by the ship Schwimmer, for which your grandfather, being now fully aware of what's going on, he might have been a junior Marine, but you can't hide from this stuff. And even in my mind, when I'm trying to imagine it, I can't. I mean, I got my own ticker right now. It's zorching right now because I'm there. Well, your grandfather served in this light aircraft group designated by taking one ashore to the 15th Anti-Aircraft Artillery Battalion. I want to remind us all, he lived through the experience of combat. And here's where I first learned. will say, it's impossible to measure the experience when enemy bombs and bullets are being directed against you. Your mood on the ground. Every Marine, soldier, and sailor internalizes these experiences differently. In this story of a grandfather, he certainly carried the weight of war. Did it have impact on choices he made? And I can absolutely tell you, yes. It certainly did. In my observations, I had the experience to help balance the record. I carried the authority under the Marine Corps Uniform Code of Military Justice to both award Marines and discipline. As I read through the history of your grandfather, I just want to tell you this. I would have recognized him as you. I would have known that he came in with the intentions to serve his country. I would have known the strengths that he was bringing into my unit. And I would tell you that your grandfather and me, we would have gotten along really well. Truly. I would probably say, let's just round it up to, let's say 1,000 Marines. And in a 30-year career, I could say, in some form or fashion, we crossed paths with each other, we touched the commonality of service to foreign country. So yeah, I can say that your grandfather and I would have seen perfectly eye to eye. And I would have taken your grandfather and seen that he could have served me better out of my flank, towards my front, protecting the headquarters, the bad guys trying to come in. And I mean this sincerely. And Chesty Bullard, if you were there, he was kind of busy, but if you were there, he would go. Just like I said in the quote, take me to the brig. And your grandfather was put on kind of guard duty. And it would have just been simple. How you doing, Marine? Fine, sir. What are you doing here? You want to go fight? Yes, sir. We got to fight. Let's go. Just that simple. Yeah, your grandfather and I would have done it all together. Here's my closing remarks. Your grandfather participated in what we called, at that time, the bolt thrust through the Gilbert. He saw everything he could see in hindsight that we look at in the history books. Were we, in this amazing way, are further connected? It's fascinating. When Roy Navarro was being isolated and aircraft coming in and prep was going on for the attack, there was another island called Majuro Island. And what I find striking is, well, the 4th Marine Division is in Roy-Namur, where your grandfather is engaged. My father had a squadron of 24 between Dauntless type bombers and Corsairs, right across from Roy-Namur. Majuro. And pictures of his squadron, the Ace of Spades, oldest squadron in the Marine Corps. So what we're seeing here is that your grandfather That's the Lord's doing. I want both of you to be proud of your grandfather's service to corn country. He did what so many others wouldn't even try. He became a United States Marine, and he earned that title forever. It is forever earned. It's forever held on to. Because we don't judge. We don't. You wore the Marine Corps, Eagle Glow. His legacy is a significant part of your legacy. And if you today can say that their grandfather, great-grandfather, served and fought in World War II, you can, both of you, and you have been blessed by this great fact. Closing thoughts on war. War and the participation in battle has significant impact on the human condition. It's a branding, and it leaves deep scars in those who witness the carnage, the slaughter, and blood. What your grandfather witnessed had impact on the universe. We did not do very well as a nation in taking care of what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder. He did the best he could. He really did. He didn't have the support system in place that we do today. Even today, as a nation, we still deal with this trauma, but now we do have structure and support. We heal through showing grace, love, and forgiveness, even to those who have gone before us. I am grateful for your grandfather's service in combat to our nation, and you certainly can be proud and grateful for his sacrifice, as I am as a Colonel Marines who witnessed war up close. An honor getting to know your family. And you know what? If I'm not careful, I'd be just a few seconds away from breaking down. There's no fear of that. Just isn't quite the disciplined way that I want to finish this talk. But I am telling you from my heart, you can't do stories like this, like that. It's hard now. So, with that, I conclude my remarks, and I appreciate the 5 hours that was allotted to me for making those. What was it, 4 hours? You heard it.
Barely 20 minutes. Let me just add some other closing remarks here. Thank you is barely adequate, Colonel, but we all graciously thank you. Before we leave this sacred space, I want to briefly share my thoughts about the rest of Lawrence's life. He brought home visions and demons and memories that no 20-year-old should have to carry through their adulthood. Just 3 days from now, outgoing, I will celebrate 36 years of sobriety. At 24, I had already been mercilessly tortured by the secrets alcoholism extorted against me. This is the way of the disease of alcoholism. It swims in the cells of our brains, mocking and shaming us at every turn. I was a dervish of rage, terror, and bravado before I surrendered to alcohol's immense power. I admitted defeat, but walked away a winner by doing so. Laurence never had that chance. In my opinion, within days of the deaths of 2 neighbor girls, unrelated, nearly the same ages of his own 2 beloved granddaughters, from whom he was alienated because of his own alcohol-based behavior, he died. But Laurence was no coward, as the Colonel explained. Our Marine Corps triggers boot camp life's journey for you. And it has been my great honor to know him and you better. And something for both of you. And if I fall, somebody catch me. And see, you talk about crying, Colonel. I want to present you, Jessica, and you, Colonel, with this, my publication course book's first challenge coin. It is designed with great symbolism. First of all, it is metal, not plastic. Secondly, it shows the U.S. flag planted left of the midline of the coin, which indicates its highest order, as our highest purpose is to defend our country. The Marines were looking at their faces. I laid on the ground underneath the war memorial to get the picture into the faces of these Marines, because I wanted to show that they're looking down into the dark depths of earth where war is. Next, you'll see a wreath, a quarter of a wreath, of red poppies and yellow lilies, which signifies memorial, remembrance. But it only goes a quarter of the way around to indicate the loss of many Marines before their full circle of life occurs. And on the back is a message. And it says, "Thank you for trusting me with your story." Who knows where my story would have taken me had you, Colonel, not allowed me access to my first Associated Press newspaper story about Marines, those of the 1st Battalion, 25th Marines. Jessica, I hope your memory of this event and these artifacts will always bring Laurence to your heart and that of all your descendants. May Laurence rest in peace and sympathy. Please allow me to take a few photos before we all go our separate ways again.
I'll be back.
Would you take some pictures for us, Laurence? I'd be so grateful. I was waiting for you. Good to get all the appointments straight.
Yes. We've got our big open this Saturday.
Oh, my gosh. The awards for the writings, awards and everything.
Everything.
Have the awards been published yet?
I think they just released the winners last week.
Because I know a number of people, a number of books were going to this. Have to know now. Okay. That's true. Okay. You all come on up here. Let's put Jessica in the middle. Come on up here.
Oh, I got these pictures too.
Well, you can take some pictures, but you also have to come. Come on, Karen. You can have that cane for me. Thank you. Could you take a picture of me and Colonel Abblitt, Karen? And then another one of me and Jessica and Max. We have an iconic picture of the three of us. Okay, all right, that's fine, that's just fine. Thank you. And Colonel, can I get a picture of you three? That's beautiful. Thank you, Susan.
Take one for painting.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, oh,
Thank you so much, Colonel. When do y'all fly back? Oh, you have plenty of time.
Yeah, we're gonna head into, this used to be that old zombie ground, so we're gonna head into Quantico and, you know, see the base, and it's been 15 years. It's really good.
Yeah.
my margin of G3.
It's changed a lot.
Thank you. I wrote about a Marine working over there, his sister, and I went to introduce myself to him. He didn't seem to know me coming in, and he was like, so? Anyway, that was a moment, but anyway.
Yeah,
Not fault.
no, he's an infantry guy. We're rude. Truly rude people. No patience.
Oh my goodness.
I wanted to mention, but his mother and her sister worked at that ironworks.
Really?
And
Okay.
they built some of the battleships.
Okay.
And my grandmother and her sister were both short-killed infantrymen.
Wow.
And they were welders in the crowds.
That
So
is-
way up in the top, these are little
Wow.
tiny women, if you look at them, they're welders.
Those ships that I was naming off of. So what I will do when I get back, I will, yeah, I'm gonna do the cleaned up version. I mean, I
You
got,
want to give her this one?
Yes,
You want to give her this one?
I got
So you look at these, it's never done.
Even after it's published.
Yes, absolutely, Colonel. For God's sake.
and this probably is worth, this might just be worth a lot more.
Look, this girl's on it.
Yes, the marginalia.
Okay,
I
There
would
you
be
go.
honored to have a marginalia.
there you go. Yeah.
And I know how much effort went into the back end of producing it.
So,
And I really can't believe that you will. I am so touched. I am so touched.
yeah, yeah.
Because truly, he was lost, just lost. Just, I don't have anything to tell him, particularly
I know.
because I don't have much. And much of what I have is not this. It is not good. So to have a nuance and
Yeah.
to have patience with people, because you know, like, they're the way that are is such a gift.
Yeah.
And you can guess at it, and it's in the ability to have, but
Yeah.
it is not. Completely sets it back.
Well, what we do is we look back on that young teenager who then, we claim that. And then the broken piece, you know what? If it wasn't for faith, honestly, I'm not being a preacher, but it's got me through a lot of things. And so, in faith, I saw this story as an important story for family. And I'm a family guy. I mean, you could get me